and I just felt like I had been caught doing something that was wrong and that I shouldn't have been doing. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about how I got into webcamming and some of the crazy experiences that I've had working in the webcam industry. So let's hop right into this. So years and years ago, back in 2018, I had recently gotten fired from a job, and it was the only job I've ever been fired from. So I felt pretty sad and pretty rebellious at the same time. So I found a job on Craigslist, I believe, and it was a modeling job. I know, it sounds sketchy, and I was a little bit sketched out by it, but I applied to it, and I ended up getting the job. And shortly after getting the job, I found out that it was to be a webcam model. So I started getting into this, and I had a MacBook Air with a webcam on it, so I thought, I have everything that I need. And I was living in my college dorm. I was a freshman in college, and I had a roommate. So I started doing webcam shows in my dorm room when my roommate was gone. Here's a picture of what I used to look like when I first started webcamming in my dorm room. So one night when I was webcamming, my roommate came home with his girlfriend unexpectedly, and as soon as I heard that door open, my heart dropped. But I didn't waste any time. I exited out of the show just without saying goodbye or anything, and I didn't have any clothes on, so I quickly put on some basketball shorts, and I didn't have enough time to put my shirt on, but my roommate came in with his girlfriend, and we just started talking, and I was playing it off like I was just watching some YouTube videos, and I don't think they knew what I was doing because I played it off really well, but it was kind of uncomfortable because they started talking to me, and I was trying to hold on to a conversation and not seem like I had just been doing something, So that was probably the first experience that I had that really caught me off guard. So after having a short conversation with them, I ended up just leaving my dorm room and going for a walk to kind of calm down a little bit because my heart was still racing, and I just felt like I had been caught doing something that was wrong and that I shouldn't have been doing. So fast forward, it got to summertime in 2017, and I went home to Maryland for the summer, and I ended up getting a job at a warehouse. It was actually FedEx. And this job was probably one of the most difficult jobs I've ever had. I just got treated horribly. You're treated like just disposable and like an object more so than a person. And I made do with it. I worked the job and I made my money. I didn't make that much money, but I worked a midnight shift from like 11 to 5 a.m., something like that. So it was just a really hard schedule, and it really impacted my summer, but I needed to make money. So I worked that job, and I ended up quitting that job because one night this manager that I did not like at all just had me running around like a chicken with its head cut off, and he wasn't treating anybody else this way. I had no idea why he was like singling me out, but I had enough at some point, and I ended up cussing him out and walking out. And right as I was walking out, I saw my manager, the actual head manager, who I got along really well with. I explained everything to her, and she was like, "Oh, all right," and she gave me a hug, and she's like, "Stay in school. You're going to go places in life," and that really meant a lot. But anyways, that night, I came home, and I ended up hopping on Flirt for Free, which was the first website that I started webcamming on. So I hopped on that site, made some money, and I started thinking like, I want to do this. I want to see where this can go. I want to take this seriously. And I just finished off the summer doing webcamming. And I was living at home, but I had to keep it really secret. There wasn't any times. Actually, there was. There was one time when my sister came down to my room and I was in the middle of a webcam show, and I don't know if she had been standing outside my door or something like that, but she's like, "What are you doing in here? Who are you talking to?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just Skyping my friend," and just a little white lie. And I don't think she found out, but so I had taken a break from webcamming when I got back to Phoenix for my sophomore year of college, and I actually had my own dorm room at this time. No roommates. It was really nice, and I ended up getting a job at Home Depot, and it was another overnight shift job because that was the only thing that could work with my schedule because I was always, in class or having to do homework. I didn't have any other time but overnight. So I decided to try this job out and see if it would work out for me. I don't know what I was thinking because I got off at 7 a.m. and I had 9 a.m. classes Monday through Friday. So I don't know what I was thinking. Like, who's going to live off of 2 hours of sleep? I know I couldn't. So I ended up leaving that job as well. And I just started, trying to get more creative. And the thoughts about the webcamming started popping back up into my mind. And I just so happened to meet a guy off of Grindr who was around my age, a little bit older. And he put me on to a new website, CB, we'll call it CB on here. And we started webcamming together. I felt like he was ripping me off for what I was giving to him, and I was basically making him money, so I created my own account, and at the time I was still living in my dorm room, and I started webcamming in my dorm room, and it started to go really well, like super well, and I'll attach a picture right here of what I looked like in my dorm room around the time when I was still beginning to webcam. Something crazy happened. One day, unexpectedly, a maintenance guy had showed up to my dorm and he needed to do some inspections. And I had no idea this was going to happen, but he went into my bathroom, and right on my bathroom counter was one of my toys. I think it was like the first toy I ever bought. And as soon as he saw it, he acted like he didn't see it. He just kind of avoided it, I guess. And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I should have put that away. Blah, blah, blah." And he was like, after he left, he was like, "Have fun with that. Haha." So I felt like, not as gross and weird as I did when he saw it, but it still was like, oh my gosh. It stuck with me for like weeks after that. So towards the end of my first semester of sophomore year, I ended up moving in with the Grindr boy and signing the lease and everything and moving into his spare bedroom. And I think I was paying like $750 a month for rent. I was able to afford it, which I was super proud of myself for. And, at this time I started getting more into the webcamming thing. So I created social media accounts like Twitter and Instagram and OnlyFans. And at this time, OnlyFans was just getting started. Like, nobody knew about it. Nobody at all. But I happened to come across it on Google, and I was like, let me check this out. So I signed up, and I had a couple subscribers, maybe like 5 at the time. So I just, kept trying to grow it. And this was the time where I started thinking, how can I further this even more? And I ended up getting into BSB, Broke Straight Boys. And that helped out a lot. It really did. And I also started selling paintings through my social media, which was also a really good supplemental income for me. So at this time, the living environment with this Grindr boy started to get really toxic. He started to just not like me. He didn't like how I was just so happy and like motivated for life, because he was like the complete opposite. He was very much a homebody and just kind of like a jealous person. So I ended up getting a cat for us. That didn't work out. I'll talk about that later in another video, because that is a whole issue. Like, there's a whole storm that came with getting that cat. And then I ended up moving out of the toxic apartment with him before the lease ended, because I felt like I just needed to. Like, I really needed to, because it was affecting me on so many different levels of my life, and you could just feel the negative energy in the apartment. And even my friends would say that to me when they came in. It was just dark and just not a nice vibe in the apartment. So after I moved to the next apartment, I had been living with my mom, and that was not easy. It was really difficult with the work that I was doing and living with my mom. She had just moved to Arizona, so she was, kind of nervous about a new place, and it just was not a very good situation. And I was also 20 years old, and I had been living on my own for 2 years, 3 years almost prior to that. And it was just not good, not sunshine and butterflies, So after that, I finished up that lease for a year, and I ended up moving to Phoenix to my first apartment alone. Mind you, I was paying half the rent with my mom, so I was still on the lease. It wasn't like I was living for free or anything like that. So I moved to Phoenix, and I was so elated that I got approved for this apartment, and I was just happy and just ready to do whatever it took to get to where I wanted to go in life. I still am that way, but there was a sense of just, like, my eyes were wide open, and I was just so motivated to do anything. I was also getting ready to turn 21, so I was very excited about that. And I started investing into studio lights and costumes and just things to make my streams more fun and my videos more fun, like disco lights and different backdrops and stuff like that. And I had a lot of fun doing that and just experimenting and playing around with different ways to film. It was a lot of fun. And people would also send me some things off of my Amazon wish list, because I was starting to gain a huge following on my social media and the webcamming sites. So at the time, I had a friend who really struggled with his money. He couldn't hold down a job, and I decided to offer him to go on cam with me, and he was totally open with that. So we tried it out a couple times, and I remember distinctly one time there was a pest control guy that came, and it was totally unexpected again. He knocked really hard, and it was right when we were getting started into a show. I had all my lights set up and toys on my bed and everything. And he ended up coming in, and I had to slip on some clothes real quick, and I still had my lights on and everything, and I couldn't hide my toys. And it was just really uncomfortable. This guy wasn't so friendly. He was more, he was very rude. He was just kind of quiet, and it just was uncomfortable. I almost wanted to be like, dude, get out. Like, why are you here? I didn't call you. But, so he ended up just spraying for roaches and whatever else, because that place had a roach problem. And, so I ended up finishing up the show with my friend. Did not do well at all. And mind you guys, this friend was very awkward on camera, like extremely awkward. Not even camera shy, just awkward. Like, people, I would talk to him and he'd be like, it was just so weird, and I just was not in the least bit attracted to him. So it was all acting. It felt very forced, and I was paying him for these, so I felt like he needed to put more effort into what he was doing. So we tried to make do with that. I tried to make it work, and I ended up telling him one day, hey, this isn't going to work. It's, I'm not making much money with you on here. I was actually making less with him on cam than I was by myself. So I had to, stop that, and I started camming alone again and making way more money. And people would say, like, oh, we like you better than, when you're with him. Because it was just a different vibe. fast forward to today, I'm still camming alone. I've thought about trying to find somebody to cam with. I do see a lot of couples on there that do really well on CB, but I really enjoy doing it alone. I think I thrive doing it alone. I think I'm really good at it. I know I'm really good at it, actually. And yeah, I've had some crazy stories with webcamming, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought. Webcamming is such a great thing to do if you're okay with exposing yourself to the internet and not really scared of anybody finding out. There's so many straight guys on there even that are married and they're like, oh, my wife doesn't know. I only do this when she's at work. And I don't see any harm in it. Like, I think that it's perfectly fine, especially if you're not comfortable with doing adult films. But I will say when I started doing adult films with Broke Straight Boys, it greatly improved my following and the viewers that were coming in to see me. Overall, I think I planned it out really well, and I just can't wait to see where it takes me in my life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, let me know what you thought about some of these crazy experiences down below in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.